Yes, very good morning, everyone. Am I audible to all of you? Yes, Sankalpa, good morning. Yes, Rajkumar, good morning. Yes, good morning, Preeti. Yes, sir, this is all about me. Hello, everyone. My name is Harshvardhan Singh, and about me, everything is written here. Here on this platform, I'm going to teach you world history optional, all other section of GS history, international relation, and economics. Okay, so now I started my courses with world history and international relation. Yes, these are our subscription. Please subscribe to Unacademy. It will help you a lot. We have iconic as well as plus subscription. And whenever you want to take the subscription, you can use my code. Here is my code. Harshv10 is my code. Please use it. You will get a discount of 10% at the same time. And you will consider it as my student. It's really beneficial for you. If you are opting for iconic, then we are going to provide you everything including test series, personal guidance. Clear? Yes, everyone, where are you? Shall we start, everyone? Yes, good morning, everyone. Wake up, it's Tuesday, not Monday, that you are coming late. Yes, so let's start. In the last lecture, we discussed about a quick recap of last lecture. In the last lecture, we discussed about how Napoleon rose to the power, how all three section of the society, that is first estate, second estate, third estate, supported Napoleon. We discussed that in the last lecture, and then we mentioned that when Napoleon assumed the power, he became a consulate. He established a consulate system, and he was the first consulate among the three, and most important means most of the power is with Napoleon. So when he became the consulate, he started introducing reforms. So we mentioned about the reforms as well. Reforms, there were two types of reforms: internal reforms and external reforms. Sorry, external reforms we mentioned. internal, external reforms. Clear? In the internal reforms, we mentioned some positive reforms. He introduced some negative reforms, like he rejected liberty, promoted equality, promoted fraternity. Yes. Then Concordat. We all mentioned these are the negative impact. Some positive, that is public work, codification of law. These are some positive aspect introduced by Napoleon. And we mentioned the external reforms means the reforms introduced by Napoleon outside France is the external reforms. Clear? So after that we mentioned within a short interval of time, Napoleon became a strongest person of that time. So it is considered as a master of land because he directly or indirectly established his influence over European continent. Suppose this is a European continent, so here is France. So directly or indirectly he establishes control over the France. Now Britain is there, and you know that what Napoleon wants? Napoleon wants to rule the world, and world is here, America. Clear? America, Asia, Africa. Clear? And if you want to rule it, then you have to fight with Britain. Why? Because Britain already established her control over this area, a strong, mighty power of that time. So it's a logical move that the next thing Napoleon has to do, and that is Napoleon has to fight with Britain. But as I mentioned earlier also, that Napoleon was not a foolish person like Louis XVI. What Napoleon was? Napoleon was wise person, the person who knew strength and weaknesses. So he knew one thing, that defeating means to defeat Britain in ocean is nearly impossible. And why it is so? Because Britain was having the strongest navy of that time. So it's a distance dream. So what to do? Without defeating Britain, it's not possible for Napoleon to control the world. And fighting with the Britain in ocean is very difficult task. Now what to do? So Napoleon was thinking on it, and some person, one of the person advisor, he gave advice to Napoleon related to continental system. So before continental system, I just want to tell you one more thing. That is, if you want to defeat any country, then you have two options. First is war. It is known as direct option. But there are other means as well, indirect options as well. What kind of that? What's your purpose? To defeat that country so that that country could listen to you. That country is going to follow the policy according to you. That is the option. So one thing is that use the force and wage a war to defeat that country. What about the other? What about other? The other ways are known as indirect war, and there are several tools to defeat any particular country. For example, economic sanctions. Have you ever heard about economic sanctions? Proxy war. Clear? international pressure. Yes, Ashwini, good morning. Have you ever heard about economic sanction, proxy war, international pressure? Is it possible to defeat any particular country through all these measures? Defeat, it doesn't mean a practical defeat. Defeat, it means they have to follow the policy dictated by you. Means they have to agree the terms and conditions dictated by you. Is it possible? Yes. Yes, exactly. The economic sanction, I just want to mention one more example, and it is very familiar with you. That is Iran-US relation. When Iran started pursuing the nuclear policy, it was opposed by USA, and that opposition in the form of economic sanction. They imposed economic sanction over Iran. Like what? Like first, NATO country should not have a trade with them. Second, don't use dollar. Third, don't use euro. European country should not have a trade with them. Later on, Asian country should not have a trade with them. And yes, best example is India. India, as I mentioned earlier also, India and Iran are friends for long, and this friendship is basically commercial. Iran is second largest supplier of crude oil to India. Clear? So India do not want to lose it, but it is America, and when America force us, we opted several options. For example, we mentioned that we are going to pay you in rupees. They said okay. You are paying in euro. They said okay. Then finally we said that in terms of food, we are going to pay that. That's okay. They agree with all. Iran agree with that. But later on, when USA said that no, either with your Iran or with USA. So in that situation, we have to accept the US terms and conditions. And when the everything from all the sides are sanctions are imposed. So do you know that Iran is famous for crude oil? But you cannot eat or drink crude oil. What you want? Food. What you want? Food. And if you're not going to sell crude oil, is it possible for you to take food, to produce food? No. So finally, with this economic sanction, Iran accepted, and finally it was the case, that is Indo-US, Iran and US signed a pact, and that's why Iran abandoned the program. Clear? So don't you think so that without waging a war, without wasting the human resource, you can subdue any country with help of such wars? Sorry. This is known as indirect warfare, economic warfare. So this is the one of the best example of it. Okay. So proxy war is another example, that is infiltration, terrorist activities and all. And final, international pressure can also build up through United Nations, through WTO, IMF and all. Clear? So such type of things are present. Now again we are coming back to this point, continental system. So as I mentioned, Napoleon was a wise person. He knew that he cannot defeat Britain in ocean in direct warfare, so he adopted a indirect war measure. Indirect war measure, and this indirect war measure is known as continental system. So what is the basis of this continental system? As they knew that Britain is powerful because of trade. Britain is powerful because of trade. Their economy is strong because of trade. So if we attack Britain's trade, if we attack the British trade, don't you think so that Britain is going to surrender? Because their economy is completely dependent on trade. If you are going to attack their trade, definitely they are going to suffer a lot, and finally they are going to accept it. Clear? It was a simple case. So, in continental system was basically economic warfare against the Britain. This is what exactly? Economic warfare against Britain. What's the crux of this idea? What's the aim of continental system here? Here is the aim of continental system, that is economic blockade of British ports. Economic blockade of British ports. Second, what is the basis of it? Any ship touches the British port liable to seize. That means no trade with Britain, as Napoleon threatened the other countries. And how other countries has to listen? Because he established his control over European continent, direct or through indirect means. Okay, what's the basis? Any ship touches the British port liable to seize, means you cannot trade with Britain. If you do that, then we are going to seize the ship. Clear? Clear? So this is the main important aspect of continental system. Economic blockade of British, so that British trade is going to suffer, and once British trade is going to suffer, British economy is going to ruin, and finally Britain is going to accept the terms and conditions dictated by Napoleon. It was simple logic. Simple logic. So in 1806 he issued the Berlin Decree. Berlin, where it is? Germany. He issued the Berlin Decree. It is kind of pilot project. It is kind of pilot project because he has to learn whether this project is going to work well or not. If not, then we are going to end. If going to work well, then we are going to expand this. And yes, initially it yielded a positive result. When Berlin Decree issued, as this German speaking area was under Napoleon at that time, so he issued the decree from that place, and in that it is mentioned about the continental system, but in small scale. When initial success was there in 1807, he issued the Milan Decree. Milan is in Italy right now. So Italian speaking area was also under Napoleon. So expansion of continental system through Milan Decree. What's the aim? Economic blockade of British port, and any ship touches the British port liable to seize. Initially it yielded a positive result. Of course, British trade suffered a lot. British trade suffered a lot. But later it acted as a double-edged sword. How? When British uses the same thing against France. When British used the same thing against the France and basis his economic blockade of France. Any ship touches the French port liable to seize. So please let me know that what do you think, whose continental system is more powerful, of France or Britain? Yes, everyone. What do you think? Whose continental system is more powerful in this case, Britain or France? Yes, Ashwini, exactly. Samir, exactly. Britain, why? Mistress of sea, trade, ships. They have strongest navy, and trade is all about the oceanic trade. So they have the control over it. So definitely, British continental system was more powerful than Britain. So it acted as a double-edged sword. Means it hurted the person who used it for others more than himself. Means for example, we can mention means continental system as a double-edged sword. That means it hurted the opponents less than the person who used it, because it hurt the French economy lot. It hurts the French economy lot. That means both the countries, Britain and France, were suffering because of the continental system. Economic sufferings were there, but still they both continued it. Both continued the continental system. Why? Don't you think so? They are wise enough to understand that this continental system is basically hurting their economic interest. Both countries are suffering from financial crisis because of the madness. Then why they continue? When they knew that they only suffer, why they continue? Yes, please. Hmm. Hmm. Yes. Any response? What do you think? No one. It's very simple. Just think about it. Why they continue when both knew that they are suffering because of this continental system? Let's take common example of yours. If you and any particular person develop an enmity and you both are working to ruin that person, and because of yours and his action you are suffering, and he is also suffering because of your action, then why you continue? Why you continue? Some say to show who is enough powerful. Ego. Okay. Yes, what about others? I don't think so. Delay is too much. Some said lag is there in live telecast, but it is not that much lag as you are taking disadvantage of this technical problem. Yes, Manupriya, good morning. You woke up so early. Hmm. Please. It's very simple because here is not a person. Person is having ego. Countries doesn't have that much ego because country is an institution. So let's take example of France and Britain. It is not a question of ego. What Nilesh said, because the enemy is getting hurt or in loss. It's very simple. It is a question of supremacy, varchasva. Clear? This is a utter madness, but they just want to show who is more powerful, and it is a question of supremacy, and that's why they continue when both knew that this system is hurting their interest. Clear? One more problem, as I mentioned here, initially it result some positive result and yield positive result, but later on it acted as a double-edged sword. It hurted both the countries, and still the countries continued it. One more problem was there, and why the financial system or financial crisis were there in these two countries. Clear? That is the one of the reason, and France was suffering more, as I mentioned, as compared to this. Why it is so? As some of you are quite aware of this fact, that is, Britain is a pioneer in the field of industrial revolution. And you know that Britain was very famous for cotton textile, and there was a huge demand for this cotton textile. And when demand is there, supply is always there. When huge demand is there, supply is also there. But when continental system launch, this everything is ruined. Why? Because any ship touches the British port liable to seize. That means there will be no trade with Britain and no cotton textile for others. It's a decision of France, but don't you think so that common people wants cotton textile? Manchester clothes, it's very famous. Manchester clothes. Let me explain with a very beautiful example. And right now, India, uh, and as I mentioned earlier, India, we will get all the example. It's a land of wonders. You can have all the examples of world in Indian context because India is not a country. It is a what we can say mixture of different cultures and all. So it is a part of world only. Means we can mention. So India, right now, you know that in Bihar election was over, and now today only there is election result is going to announce and all. We are least interested right now. But why I mentioned Bihar? So if you watch the campaigning and everything, even the public opinion, don't you think so? One issue was there, that is liquor ban. Liquor ban was one of the issue in that campaign. Yes, it was. Some supported it, some opposed it, and all. Yes, one journalist asked that person, "What do you think about liquor ban?" And that common person said, "Where is liquor ban?" He said that it is officially. And that person, as common man, that person replied, "You can take a breath, you will get to know that I am a drunken one." Then that journalist asked, "From where you get?" He said that, "No, I am not going to tell you, because the sailor is also having a family and I don't want to ruin his economy." So it was a very common general discussion between journalist and a common man of Bihar. So you know that Bihar in whole state liquor ban is there. And as I mentioned just now, a conversation between journalist and that particular common man, and what he said, "I'm a drunken right now." So he gets that, but by law it's banned. How it is so? So let's take example of first case 1, and with help of that I'm going to explain what is the problem with the continental system. The case 1, when allowed, when it is allowed, it was allowed at that time. This is a shopkeeper and this is a customer. Suppose this person, here is demand and here is supply. This person demanded for something, as for example any liquor, and this is going to supply. 100 rupees he is going to pay, and supply is of one article. Okay, 100 rupees is there. This person gets 100 rupees. Do you really think so all the 100 rupees he is going to keep by himself? No. This 100 rupees can be divided as many aspects. For example, company share, means from where he bought that. Second, state tax. Third, commission. Okay, it's basic. It's basic. Companies are getting money, state are also getting the taxes, and his commission also. So this was a case, and this person is getting one article for 100 rupees. Now let's take example of case 2, ban. As human being, you cannot force anyone what to do and what not to do. It's depend on that particular person, whether he or she thinks that it's good, then that's good. You cannot force anyone for their habits. Clear? So this is the same person. If this person is somehow, we can mention the alcoholic person. So what do you think? Don't he want? Doesn't he want? He wants. So demand is there. Demand is there. But right now this person is not there because shops are closed. This person is not there. Demand is there. When demand is there, definitely there will be suppliers. Definitely this is a supplier. This is a demand is there, supply is always there. But do you really think so this is a legal? No. This is completely illegal thing. So demand is there, supplier is going to provide it illegally. Means crime. It's a crime. But still he's providing. So some of you might consider how godly person is this. It's not about the, what we can say, godly feature. What about it? It is about trade. If illegal is there, definitely he is going to charge. He is going to charge more. So the same article which earlier you get from for 100 rupees, right now you're getting for 1000 rupees. Same article you're getting for 1000 rupees. So this person, what this person is going to say, it's too costly, I don't afford. This person replies might be same. Then why you are here? If you cannot afford, please leave this. So it is not at all the case. So this person is going to take, this is supply, this is demand, this person is going to take that for 1000 rupees. In this 1000 rupees, whether state gets tax? No, state doesn't get any tax. Whether any commission is getting to shopkeeper? No. Whether anything is getting to company in that particular area? No. Who is getting? This person is getting 1000 rupees, and maybe the share is like this, but it is all about the black money. It all about the black money. Don't you think so? Black money hurts the interest of states. If black money is more, don't you think so that states are getting less amount of revenue in the form of taxes? Yes, it is. And what about the customer? Whether customer is satisfied? No. Earlier he gets that article for 100 rupees. Right now he is paying 1000 rupees. And that's the problem. It hurted the state interest more. It hurted the state interest more because states are not going to get the taxes. Same thing happened here. As I mentioned the example of Bihar, so you can relate what exactly happened there. So the same case, the case 1, when the trade allowed at that time a cotton or textile from Britain to any particular country. Let's take example of Portugal. Portugal can send to citizen. Citizens are going to pay the taxes directly to Portugal. The Portugali government gets that tax. Case 2, as trade is banned, but demand is there. So demand is there, supply is always there. Britain can send their clothes to citizen, but here who played the role? Middleman. And this middleman is going to earn more money. And what about state? No rule. So it hurted the interest of state, and it, because of this continental system, economy of the state suffered lot. And now there are many countries who started opposing the continental system. Best example, Papal state. Even the states which were directly or indirectly under Napoleonic rule, they also started criticizing the continental system because their economic interest hurted more. Clear? Yes, Deep Kumar, good morning. So, do you get it? Yes, everyone. Is that clear? Any doubt related to the continental system? How it acted as a double-edged sword? Any confusion, any doubt, any question? If you have, please let me know. Yes, sirs and madams, future bureaucrats, do you have any question, any query? What a brilliant student, no doubt at all. Everything is clear. I'm so fortunate that I got a people like you. And my teachers were so unfortunate they got a student like me. Always have a question. It should be like here question mark in my. Okay, so no problem at all. Very good. Next thing, as I mentioned, the continental system hurted the interest of the states, so they started registering the protest against it. A very good example we mentioned about the Spain, as during this time, I'm going to mention it later also. What happened in Spain that Napoleon's brother was ruling there. How and when we are going to discuss later. But he also registered his protest. Clear? Along with that, one more state opposes the continental system, that is papal state. Papal state means where the Pope rules. And where it is basically Rome. Why papal state registered protest against it? Why? They say that we are a religious body. And what's the madness going on between France and Britain? We do not have anything to do with you and your rivalry. Why should we suffer? Question is very rational. As we are a religious body, we do not have any affiliation with you or you, then why we have to suffer because of your rivalry? And that rivalry is for supremacy. Don't you think so? It's challenge for Napoleon. Yes, Napoleon took it as a challenge and Napoleon taught the lesson to Papal State. He uses the force and ended their protest. And you know that Napoleon was so powerful at that time. When Napoleon was angry, that means end of that. So what they did, when the country started registering protest, and for example, if Napoleon allow Papal State, don't you think so other states are going to follow the same principle? They are going to say the same thing. It's your problem. Why we are going to suffer? So Napoleon used the force against the Papal State, and that resulted into end of their protest against continental system. Another important country, that is Portugal. Portugal refused to accept continental system. Portugal? Yes, those who are new, please tell me one thing. What do you know about Portugal? What do you means in recently there was a US election, and after that US election, you know the states like Pennsylvania, then Nebraska, then Alaska, Washington. You know many more things about USA. So tell me about Portugal. Portugal is very famous for Ronaldo. That's it. That's our knowledge about Portugal. Ronaldo. If you are so clever, then you know that Portugal was our colonial master. They ruled Goa, the Maldives and all. That's it. What about other? That means if we are having limited knowledge of that particular country right now, that means it was not that much powerful during the time of Napoleon as well. Means a small country was there known as Portugal. Portugal was not like a Britain, not a powerful like Britain. Still, Portugal refused to accept continental system. Here, let me show you with help of map. So suppose this is a Europe. Here is France. Here is one country, a small country known as Portugal. And you know what, as I mentioned earlier, France established its control directly or indirectly over all the parts of Europe. All the parts of Europe. And this country, a small country, refused to accept continental system. Don't you think so? It's a challenge for Napoleon. And from whom? From whom? Portugal? Don't you think so? It's an insult of Napoleon. Napoleon's terror was like of Gabbar Singh in Bollywood. Same terror. And Portugal, a small country, said, do whatever you want. We are not going to impose continental system. Challenge Napoleon. It's just like that. It's very simple. It's just like that. Here is a mighty person. You can call this person as Gun. And here is a child. And this person, this child is going to threaten this mighty person. Like, do not come into my territory, my area. If you're going to come, I'm going to break your hands. Don't you think so? It's a overacting of this person. A small child is going to threaten a goon. Don't you think so? This person, this child, doesn't know the consequences if this person is going to respond. He knew that this child, he or she knew that this person is going to beat, but still this child is going to threaten this goon. And how it is possible? Without support, it's not possible. And that person knew that there is another goon with him, and because of this goon, this is more mighty. You can imagine the figure. This goon is powerful as compared to child, but as compared to this goon is more powerful. So there should be some support from back, and then you are going to threaten. It is like the same thing. Just replace this word goon and this child with here France, here Portugal, and here Britain. So, why Portugal refused to accept the continental system? They challenged Napoleon just because they knew that Britain is with them, Britain is going to provide support to them. But my basic question to you, I always have such basic questions in my life. My basic question to you, why Britain is going to support Portugal? Yes, why Britain is going to support Portugal? Yes, Don't tell me about my usual comment, दुश्मन का दुश्मन दोस्त होता है. This is not applicable here because Portugal is not in a position to take enmity with France, with enmity with the Napoleon. I know that. Some of you are using my quote only. दुश्मन का दुश्मन दोस्त होता है. This is not applicable here. Why to take enmity with Napoleon? He was a don of that time. He is going to ruin your country. Preeti said to counter the France. Ashwini said to counter it. Yes, anyone? Any? Hmm. Samir, what you said, Britain wants to establish control over continent. Exactly wrong. Hmm. Yes, exactly wrong. Or so. Think about it. Think about why. Yes, anyone? Hmm? Come on, speak. I know it's difficult to regain everything in the morning in this chilling winter. Ashwini said that for some trade purpose. गरीबों से क्या ट्रेड करना है? When they have India, when Britain is having India, why Portugal? Just imagine the population of Portugal and take consideration of India. India is a bigger market, biggest market for them. The answer lies in one book, very famous book, very famous, and some of you might touch that book once in your lifestyle, and that book is known as 12th Standard NCRT, Old, of Bipin Chandra. I know it's very difficult to read. It's very difficult because it's the most difficult book written ever. No? It's very difficult for you. It's so heavy that you cannot read that book. But you don't have any choice. You have to read that book if you want to clear UPSC exam. Huh. So please make your mind that I have to read at all cost. And reading always have one aspect, that is understanding. Clear? So those who read that book, they might gone through one incident or event. It is mentioned that Britain and Portugal had a matrimonial Britain and Portugal established a matrimonial relations, and because of that relation, Bombay was given to Britain. Portugal gave Bombay to Britain as a dowry. Ever have you ever gone through this thing that Bombay, our Bombay, given to Britain, who gave Portugal? Don't you think so? They are far away from Asian continent. They are far away from, but they deal with our Bombay. Clear? So you get that reference in Bipin Chandra. So this reference is important here as well. Why Britain supported Portugal? Because they had a matrimonial relationship. The princess of Portugal married to British king. Clear? So that's why Britain supported Portugal. Clear, everyone? Why it is so? Because Britain had a matrimonial relation with the Portugal, and Portugal was in danger, so that's why Britain supported Portugal. And you know common thing. Princess of Portugal married to British king. And don't you think so that princess is going to irritate his husband? My family, your father-in-law is in danger, then you have to protect them. It happened. Girls love their parents more than boys. So it's obvious thing. So on lighter side, we mentioned that, but Britain and Portugal were having matrimonial relation, and you know that matrimonial relations are the strongest relations in the world. So that's why Britain supported Portugal. Okay, and what happened because of the Britain, Portugal was so powerful at that time. They were not listening to anyone. Again, I just want to draw the same diagram. Oh, hmm. Here is Britain, here is France, here is Portugal, and here is Spain. You can look out the map. You will get to know the same thing. As it's a directly challenge to Napoleon, and Napoleon was like he was a dawn of that time, and it's a direct challenge to that dawn. And if Napoleon negated this challenge, definitely others are going to follow the same thing. So that's why Napoleon wants to teach a lesson to Portugal. So what to do? He only have a two option. Either he can attack from this side, this is ocean, or he can attack Portugal from this side. Means after entering to Spain, he can attack Portugal. Which option is the best? Which option is the best option? Attacking through ocean or entering into Spain and then attack Portugal? And why? My question is that which is the best option for France to attack Portugal, through oceanic route or through land route? Whatever may be your answer, with why? Yes, Ashwini said land, Nilesh said land. Yes, of course, land is more better option so that you can maintain your fitness. Yes, by walking. There is no need to walk separately. You can maintain your fitness. Oceanic route, there were some problems like cyclones. So there is a least possibility that you can survive. Yes, what she said, Ashwini said, Napoleon was having best army. He was a master of land through Spain because French navy was not powerful. Samir said, okay. Preeti said land. Yes, you all are fitness freak, so you opted for land. And what Samir said that it's all also true that as compared to Britain, French navy was not powerful. As compared to Britain, French navy was not powerful. That means if France want to attack Portugal from the oceanic route, definitely Britain is going to end them. So the only option with France is land route, and for that he has to cross Spain. And don't you think so that none of the sovereign state wants to open their border for other country? Don't you think so? Let's take example of mm, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. You know that Pakistan is having enmity with India as well as they are having enmity with Bangladesh. They said that these Bengali people betrayed us, created a separate state. So let's take example of it. Here is Pakistan, here is India, and here is Bangladesh. So, so Pakistan wants to attack Bengal or Bangladesh. They have to opt for oceanic route. Yes, and you know that Pakistan, and there are Indian media channels. They are most interested in Pakistan, so they give you details of Pakistan. Yes, each and every detail of Pakistan. I know everything because of them only. How Pakistan is suffering a lot, how they don't have food to eat and all. So just imagine with I if we trust that information, so they don't have money to fill the petrol or diesel or crude oil because through oceanic route you have to do that. It's not affordable for them. They don't have food to eat, but still they want to teach a lesson to Bangladesh. So oceanic route is not an option for them clearly because news channel said that they don't have any option, but still they want to teach the lesson. What to do? Only option Pakistan army can maintain their fitness as they don't have. They can maintain that, and what they have to do? Just to ask India to open the door. Just to ask the India so that they can travel because for last 70 years they didn't see the Taj Mahal and everything, so they want to see the Taj Mahal while entering into Bangladesh and all. That might be the case. Yes. So India is going to open her border for Pakistan. And that's it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes, enter, have a food as you don't have. Then teach a lesson to Bangladesh. Don't you think it's an exaggeration? It is because do you really think so that India is going to open the border for Pakistan to attack Bangladesh? Of course not. Why it is so? Because it is a question of sovereignty of state. You cannot rely any country. If you open the border and what if they change their mind and attack you? You will be not at all in a position to tackle that. Why? Because enemy already entered into your area. You are not going to retaliate it, and that creates a problem. So In this case, do you really think so? India is going to open the border? No, not at all, never. Because it is a question of sovereignty of that state. Clear? So don't you think so here as well when you said that they are going to follow the land route? Don't you think so it is a question of sovereignty of Spain as well? If Spain is going to open their border, maybe it will be difficult for them in future. So what happened? Napoleon convinced Spain to open the border. And why Spain opened? Because of vested interest. Without vested interest, nobody is going to do that. With because of vested interest. And what was that? He offered that, suppose this is the Portugal, we collaborate with each other. Means French army and Spanish army collaborate with each other. We are going to combinedly going to attack Portugal and divide the Portugal into two. This portion belongs to France. This portion belongs to Spain. And Spain was so happy. Without anything, without doing any efforts, Spain is going to get territory. It's just like घर बैठे लखपति बनो offer. Same, without, you do not have to do any efforts. Just so without efforts, Spain is getting territory, half territory of Portugal. And why Spain was so confident that they are going to get the territory? Because Napoleon army was a grand army, undefeated. Napoleon, Spain was sure about this that Napoleon is going to defeat Portugal, and after defeating, they gets the territory without any efforts. So they were happy, and because of this vested interest, Spain supported Napoleon. Now what happened? Now what happened? When French army entered into Spain, they faced lots of problems. They faced lots of problems. Like what? As Napoleonic army doesn't have a what we can say habit of asking anything. They just dictate that. Now, when they entered into Spain, now they are totally dependent on Spanish resources, either for the food, either for water, or for soldiers. They were totally dependent on Spain, and this creates irritation for French army as well as Napoleon, because it is just like that when you are going to visit your forcefully, the word is when you're going to forcefully visit your relatives place, whatever may be your choice. Yes, you know that at means you have a choice, like you want to know what nation wants to know. Puchta hai Bharat. If you want to watch it, you can watch at your home. But when you entered into your relative's house, and if that person is rational enough, so that person is not interested at all for nation wants to know. He doesn't want to know what is going on in nation, because whatever the information that person wants, he gets through online media. And this is a problem for you. You want to watch, and that person is least interested, so it frustrates you. So you have two options: either left that house or take control of it. That is the option only with you. Either you have to throw your relative out of his or her own house and take control of it, or you have to leave that house as early as possible so that you can watch that particular nation wants to know in the night. Yes, everyone. Without that, it's not possible. So, the condition of Napoleonic army is same, totally dependent on Spain. So, the only choice either to go back to France or to take control of Spain, Spanish resources. And if you want to take control of resources, you have to take control of that country only. And here Napoleon did the mistake. What Napoleon did? Napoleon installed his brother as Spanish monarch. Napoleon installed his brother as Spanish monarch. Don't you think it's an act of betrayal? Yes, it is an act of betrayal because Spain opened their border with the trust. They thought that France is going to attack Portugal, and after attacking they will get the territory. That's it. It was a deal. But when French controlled the Spain, that Napoleon installed his brother as the monarch. It's an act of betrayal, and that's why there was a huge protest from Spanish people, and that led to the civil war like situation. Civil war like situation. That creates a civil war like situation, and now common people, I'm talking about common people versus Napoleonic army. So the struggle started into Spain is like on one side common people, on other side Napoleonic army, and this word and this act in history mentioned as Spanish ulcer. So it is said that Spanish ulcer ruined the Napoleon. Spanish ulcer ruined the Napoleon. You know ulcer, what ulcer is, and some of you might aware of the mouth ulcer. If you face through mouth ulcer, it's very difficult. You're not going to die, of course. You're not going to die through that mouth ulcer, but it's really hurting you because you cannot eat because of that ulcer, and if you're not going to eat, it creates irritation because you're hungry, but still because of that you're not going to eat, and this is the situation known as ulcer. So Spanish ulcer is basically the same thing, that army were fighting against the people, and what is the consequences of that? Remember this thing always: army can defeat army, but army cannot defeat common people. Why it is so? Because when army is fighting war with the another army, they know this is an enemy. But when they are going to fight with the common people, they cannot discriminate enemy from the common people because they don't know who is enemy, who is friend, and who is neutral. Clear? And that's the situation. that people versus army, and this is known as Spanish ulcer. What was the aim? What was the aim of Napoleonic army at that time? What was the aim? To attack Portugal and captured it. And now Napoleonic army was struggling in Spain only. Napoleonic army was struggling in Spain only. They didn't attack Portugal. So whether their aim is fulfilled? No. Along with that, one more thing. When army versus people fight is going on, it is an undecisive. It is an undecisive fight. Why? Because you can defeat a person, but you cannot defeat the spirit of that person, and that is why undecisive. War should be decisive. Either you can win the war or you can lose the war, but there should be some result. And when war with the people is there, there should not be any concrete result. It only added frustration. Clear? So Spanish ulcer, that is what was the aim? To defeat Portugal, but because of act of betrayal from Napoleonic side, Spanish people revolted against the Napoleonic army, and that's why Napoleonic army engaged in Spain only. And this war was an undecisive war, and the resultant that Napoleonic army engaged in that particular area, and they forgot that they had to attack Portugal. This is known as Spanish ulcer, undecisive. Clear? Everyone clear Spanish ulcer? Yes, everyone. Is there any question, any doubt related to Spanish ulcer? Any doubt? Any question? No. Good. Now here, the British troop under Wellesley. Here's the same Wellesley, that is Arthur Wellesley in India. So he landed in Portugal. So as we have drew this diagram several times, Britain, here is Portugal, and here is Spain. So now to support Portugal, Wellesley entered into Portugal. So now they are going to attack from the side of Portugal. Clear? To defend Portugal as well as to attack and to defeat Napoleonic army in Spain. So it was their aim. What happened? As Spanish ulcer, here the Spanish ulcer was going on, undecisive result was there. In the same time, in 1812, Napoleon invaded Russia. And those who knew me very well, I always considered Russians always tells lie. They said that Russia is a country. It is not at all the country. It is a continent. They ask you to come into their country and they show you the continent. Clear? Just imagine they are the part of Eurasia. The Europe is there. Asia is there. Here is Europe. Here is Asia. And really, we are thankful to Russia that they surrender Alaska to USA. Earlier it was a part of Russia only. So just imagine Europe, Asia, America, all the continents covered by one country. So why we are going to call them as a country? It's a continent, like, clear. So the war with Spain was not ended. At the same time, this is the Europe, mainland of Europe. We can mention the France and all. And this is suppose Russia. Here is France, Portugal, Spain. Clear? This war is undecisive. And now Napoleon decided to attack Russia in 1812. This is the first mistake he did. He kept his half army in Spain, to deal with Spanish ulcer, and the rest of the half he attacked Russia. Russian always follow this policy. Always. Means they follow this policy right now, they follow this policy when Hitler attacked them. Same policy. How? This policy is known as scorched earth policy. Means without fight, they started retreating, and while retreating they burned all the resources and they poured poison in all the water bodies so that enemy didn't get anything from their territory, so that enemy could die without battle. So what happened with the Napoleon? The same thing repeated with Hitler. So that's why it is said that history repeats itself. French army entered here. Russian army retreated. It boosts the confidence of Napoleonic army. That just by looking us, they are retreating. Again, Napoleonic army moved forward. Again, Russian army was. Don't you think they have enough land to run? Means at least to reach to the end, it will take 10 years. Huge land is there. So they just started retreating from phase manner 1, 2, 3, 4, and now Frenchmen fall into that trap, and that trap is of nature. You know that Russia is very famous for winter, chilling winter, and France is not having that much experience of winter. Russian winter is so harsh that Napoleonic army died because of winter. They died without fighting a single battle, because right now they reached here in the middle. They cannot go back, because if they want to go back they are going to die. They cannot move forward because winter is there, and at the same time, because of the scourge earth policy, no food, no water. And when this was the situation, Russian army attacked. Russian army attacked the Napoleonic army, and because of that, Napoleon ran away from Russia with handful of soldiers. Yes, you are listening exactly. Napoleon ran away from the battlefield with handful of soldiers. Rest of the soldier died in Russia under under snow without battle, and that broke the grand myth of Napoleonic army. Means it was a myth that nobody can defeat Napoleonic army. Napoleonic army is so strong that it is undefeated. But Russian invasion broke that myth, and Russian invasion was the most miscalculated move of Napoleon. Clear, everyone? Clear? कौन करता है भाई ऐसा? घर बुला के बर्फ में दबा देता है. Russian, very famous for that. So be aware of that. If somebody called you, come to Russia, and if it is mental, then say, sorry, I can't. They are so dangerous. You know that Siberian winds are there, so it's a very harsh environment. We cannot survive in that environment. Clear? Yes, everyone. Whatever I explained related to Spanish ulcer, whatever I explained related to Russian invasion, is that clear to all of you? How Napoleonic army defeated without a battle, how it was a miscalculated move. Yes? Okay, next. Next. Now it is the case that half army destroyed, other half engaged in Spain. So that means full arm, half is destroyed, one half is engaged in Spain. Don't you think so? It is the best opportunity for opponents to attack Napoleon. Yes, because Napoleon irritates them. Napoleon attacked everyone. So, because of Napoleon, there were countries who suffered a lot. Napoleon grabbed their territory for his ambition of being emperor. So the hurted interest of these neighboring states of Napoleon resulted into formation of a quadruple alliance. Please let me explain. Allow me. So here we mention Britain. Samir, what said that? Does Napoleon know what is the climate of Russia? As he was quite aware of it. Of course, he was a wise person. But at that time, his wiseness was wiped out because of the madness prevailed at that time. How? It was that how Russia can refuse me? How Russia can refuse me? I want to teach them lesson. And when Russia started scourge earth policy, it was better for them to retreat. But retreating from the battlefield, it was considered as an insult, humiliation. In India, we had such thing in medieval times. Okay, so Britain, why Britain? We already mentioned because of the continental system, it hurted the interest. Russian invasion, so Russia was against the Napoleon. Austria, why Austria? We mentioned the Milan Decree earlier. And this Milan decree was basically, this Milan city was under Austria, but Napoleon captured it, so it made Austria angry. Then we mention about one more thing, that is Berlin, German speaking area. Berlin was German speaking area and Prussia was representative of that. So it hurted the interest of Prussia as well. So these four powers, Britain, Russia, Austria and Prussia, form alliance. Britain, Russia, Prussia and Austria form alliance versus Napoleon. So if you are having a common sense, I hope you have, because it's a very uncommon thing. Who is going to win? Who is going to win? Of course, these four, these fours are going to win against Napoleon. Why? Britain was powerful, Austria was a powerful power, Russia was a powerful power of that time, and this Prussia was a smaller power. But with help of these four, alliance is going to defeat Napoleon. It's very common sense. So when they form a quadruple alliance, and the resultant of that is defeat of Napoleon. In 1813 there was a battle of Leipzig. In that battle of Leipzig, defeat of Napoleon. This battle of Leipzig is also known as War of Nation. And why it is so? Because nations were engaged in that, Britain, Russia, Prussia and Austria versus Napoleon. So that is known as War of Nation, defeat and deportation of Napoleon. Clear? As there was a defeat of Napoleon, but these four nations didn't humiliate Napoleon, because Napoleon was a great military general as well as he was a wise administrator. So that's why these four powers respect him for that. So what they did, instead of punishing Napoleon, they deported that person to an island. Deported that person to an island. Clear? Instead of humiliating or ending his life and all, so they just deported. As Napoleon deported into that island, he was a very busy man. Once upon a time, there was a terror of Napoleon. He was a master of land. Don't you think so? He felt bored there. He get bored. He was just like, "Aaj kuch tufani karte hai." What to do? I have to do something. So he was constantly thinking, and meanwhile, he escaped from that island. The Elba name of that island is Elba Island, and again entered into France. Once Napoleon entered into France, again Frenchmen celebrated. Don't you think so? They are mad right now. Because Napoleon was a person who took away their freedom. But when Napoleon entered into France, again they celebrated, and again Napoleon assumed the power as a king. Napoleon as an emperor. And once again he took the control of France. These four powers, they thought that it's okay, leave it. If their intention doesn't want to punish Napoleon, they said that it's okay. They thought that Napoleon is going to maintain the peace. Napoleon is going to maintain the peace. He is not going to follow the aggression policy. In Indian context, one idiom is there, Vinash Kale Viparita Buddhi. When there is a phase of destruction, at that time you never use your common sense. It's very common. As you know that here, that his half army, oh, as you know that his half army completely destroyed in Russia. Half army was engaged in Spain, and later on they suffered lot. They suffered lot. And when they fought Battle of Leipzig, his army, that is Napoleonic army, was completely ruined. Completely ruined. Now what? When Napoleon entered into France, he assumed the power and again he started thinking to take revenge of Britain, Russia, Prussia, and Austria. For that, he gathered the forces and attacked these powers. And these four powers versus Napoleon once again, and this is known as Battle of Waterloo. And Battle of Waterloo ended the Napoleon. It is the end of Napoleon. Battle of Waterloo was a one-sided battle. One-sided battle for alliance. Battle of Leipzig was a practical end of Napoleon. Battle of Leipzig was practical end of Napoleon, and Battle of Waterloo was just a eyewash, a last desperate attempt by Napoleon, and that resulted into end of Napoleon. Again, these forces transferred Napoleon to unmanned island, and after that nobody knows about Napoleon, what happened, when he died, how he died, and all. Just imagine a person who ruled the world, a powerful person in 1799, just 15-16 years later, nobody knows about that person, how that person died. So this is always the irony with the people. Clear? If Napoleon rise is possible, then end of Napoleon is always possible. So this is the important lesson for your life. Rise and fall. Rise and fall is an important aspect of life. When peak is there, you will be at the top. Do not consider yourself as a god or superhuman. And when you are at this phase, don't consider yourself as a loser. Clear? So these two are the extreme conditions. Do not compare yourself superhuman or a loser. Always remember, if right now most of you are here, but don't worry, this is going to come. Life gives you the opportunity if you tried hard. But when you are here in this position of loser, when you're here, start performing better so that whenever you will get the opportunity, you will utilize it. So it should not be the case that Lakshmi tilak lagane aayi aur tum muh dhone chale gaye. It should not be the case. If life gives you the opportunity, you have to utilize it at all cost. So rise and fall of Napoleon is clear to all of you. Yes, everyone. Anybody is having any question? Is that clear? Yes, is that clear to all of you? Any question? Any query? Clear. Okay. Next thing, after fall of Napoleon, these mighty power decided to implement one system, and that system should not allow the rise of Napoleon. So you're going to think about, okay, rise of Napoleon, how it is possible? Because Napoleon already destroyed, already ended, then why you're going to think? When we use the word, when they use the word Napoleon, it doesn't mean a person, it doesn't mean rise of common man. So what they want to establish a system which will not allow the rise of common man. And that's why the Vienna Order was designed in 1815. This Vienna Order was there after the Battle of Waterloo. What happened? The background was there. The background, the Treaty of Chaumont. The Treaty of Chaumont in 1814 was there, and this treaty was basically discussing about what will be the future of Europe after Battle of Leipzig. So in this treaty, four nations were there. It was anti-Napoleon treaty, and it was for 20 years. Anti-Napoleon means if such rise is there, it is for 20 years, and these four powers, that is Britain, Russia, and Austria, against the Napoleon rise of common people for 20 years. But somehow, Napoleon came back, and the Battle of Waterloo, and that resulted into end of Napoleon. Now, this Vienna Order was basically brainchild of this person, Metternich. There are few people who had a long-lasting impact over the world, and Metternich was one of them. Who was Metternich? Metternich was a chancellor of Austria. Chancellor of Austria means basically Prime Minister of Austria or Austrian Empire. Prime Minister of Austrian Empire. So what was basically this idea of Vienna Order? Aftermath of Battle of Waterloo, these four nations gathered together at Vienna, and they started a meeting. The meeting is known as Congress. So Vienna Congress, they started a meeting to discuss the future of Europe, and after discussion they came to conclusion, and that conclusion is known as Vienna Order. Meeting was there, after meeting discussion, debate, and after debate the conclusion, and conclusion in the form of Vienna Order means what will be the future order of Europe. And it was based on three principles. It was based on three principles. First was BOP, not balance of payment. It stands for balance of power. It stands for balance of power. And how balance is established? This is the balance. Balance is established. All are equal. When this balance gets disturbed? When one is more powerful than other, the balance get disturbed. And it happened that France became more powerful than other countries, and that's why this balance gets disturbed. Clear? So what they want? They want to establish balance of power so that they can control each other. No one can be more powerful than other. So they want to establish balance of power. The second thing, legitimate rule. Legitimate rule means nobody, no common man, no entry to common man. No entry to common man. Legitimate rule. This also define the divine origin of kingship. Clear? Legitimate rule means nobody, no common man can rule your country. Who can rule? God appointed a person, and that person will act as a representative of God. And who is that person? Basically, king from one particular family. Clear? So what they want? They want to establish a legitimate rule. And third thing in the Vienna Order, that is related to rewarding victors. And what is exactly this? Whatever the territories captured by Napoleon, redistributed them. Clear? So three basic principles of Vienna Order: BOP, legitimate rule, and rewarding victors. Means those who emerge as a victor, they were provided or rewarded through the lands or territory. Clear? So based on this Vienna Order, there was a Vienna Arrangements. Based on Vienna Order, there was a Vienna Arrangement. So what is Vienna Order? Once more we are going to write here so that you will get exact thing. Vienna Order is balance of power. Second, legitimate rule. And third is rewarding victors. So this is basically theory, and Vienna Arrangement is basically practical. How? Vienna Order, balance of power. So balance of power, how they are going to establish? Here the France is surrounded by a strong state, so that France is not going to be powerful and the balance of power is established. Clear? How BOP is established? France is surrounded by strong state, so that France remains confined to their territory only. So balance is established. Second, restored the old dynasty, means wherever the old dynasty ruled and French Revolution ended the old dynasty or ended the rule of the old dynasty, restored them. Find out the person from that member's family and establish that person as a head of the state. So you know that Louis XVI belongs to Bourbon dynasty. So the members from Bourbon dynasty established as a French monarch. At the same time, France also ruled the Kingdom of Two Sicilies. The Naples and Sicilies combinedly known as Kingdom of Two Sicilies. Now it is a part of Italy. Don't worry, we are going to discuss this thing in Italian unification. Just keep this in your mind. So the Bourbon dynasty, the person from Bourbon dynasty established as the king of Kingdom of Two Sicilies. So that is restoration of legitimate rule. And the third practical, Austrian dominance established over German Bund. Austria is also known as Habsburg Empire or Austro-Hungarian Empire, and it is having several other regional areas. So this German-speaking area was captured by Napoleon. Again, the Austrian dominance established over that area, and that is known as rewarding victor. This is the best example of Vienna Order, that is Vienna Arrangement. Clear to everyone? Yes, everyone, clear? Is that clear to all of you? Any question, any doubt to understand Vienna Order or Vienna Arrangement? Okay, yes, it is clear. Next is Holy Alliance. At the same time, in 1815 only, in 1815, one more alliance was established. And that alliance was initiative taken by third point. Ashwini wants to know about the third point. As the third point, this is in the theory. What is rewarding victors? Means जो लोग जीते हैं उन्हें कुछ ना कुछ वापस देना है, आपको टेरिटरी देनी है या फिर आप कुछ और भी दे सकते हो. So what happened? Napoleon, as I mentioned, Napoleon established his empire. His empire consists of Italian-speaking area, German-speaking area, and these areas basically, Italian-speaking area and German-speaking area, were under Austrian dominance. Austria, the Habsburg Empire, it was under them. Their control was there. Somewhere direct control, somewhere indirect control was there. So Napoleon ended their dominance. So after end of Napoleon, restoration of that, and how to restore the reward given in the form of re-establishment of their dominance over German Bund. German Bund is basically German speaking area, and this German Bund is a kind of parliament. Clear? It's kind of parliament. So Austrian dominance established over German Bund in German speaking area. Clear? The next initiative is taken by Tsar. Tsar means Russian monarch was known as Tsar. It is based on the biblical principles, means on the principle of Bible it was there. So you know that it is a religious book. That means the holy word is basically related to that. And when it is a religious, that means it is having some diversion from practical interest. And yes, it happened. Vienna order was completely political order, but Holy Alliance was not a completely political order. It was like a spiritual order, that of spiritual alliance. So what exactly? Why it was there? To promote the Christian brotherhood among the states. So the members were Russia, Austria, and Prussia. Britain was not the member, and if Britain was not the member, then what's the use of that organization? So this organization was not that much important, but it was based on the biblical principle to promote this brotherhood among these states, to end the rivalry among these states. So it was a common thing at that time. Clear? Next. Next is Metternich system. Next is Metternich system. As I mentioned, Metternich, who was he? He was a chancellor of Austro-Hungarian Empire. Austro-Hungarian Empire. This Austro-Hungarian Empire is also known as Habsburg Empire. Clear? Metternich, this is the period 1815 to 1848. This period is known as period of Metternich system, and he was considered as Prime Minister of Europe. Clear? As Ashwini asked why Britain was not, because Britain is having different faith, different sect of Christianity. Pope is not a head of British Church. Pope is a head of Catholics. Clear? Britain is having their own church. Just like in India, we have one religion, but there are several sects in that religion. It was the same thing. Clear? So Metternich was considered as a Prime Minister of Europe at that time. So you can imagine how powerful that person was. But Metternich was a very conservative person. Very conservative means whatever the changes introduced by French Revolution, whatever the changes introduced by French Revolution, he was against it. He was against these changes. And what he want to means 1789 to 1815, whatever the changes introduced, he want to reverse everything and he want to make Europe to return from 1815 to pre-1789 era. Means he just want to change the direction of the will. Earlier the will was moving forward, he want to reverse it, and to somehow he managed that for some time. Means it is said that in history Metternich was swimming against the tides of change. Clear? So why he was so mad, how was it, and all we are going to discuss in the next lecture. So till now, is there any question, any query related to this session? In the next lecture we are going to discuss Metternich system. So till now, is there any question, any query related to this lecture? Yes, anyone? Any question, any query? Yes, any question? Yes, no, don't know, not interested. Yes, no question at all. Okay, so tomorrow we are going to discuss the Metternich system in detail. And those who are having wants to connect with me, they can connect with me through my Telegram channel, Unacademy _ Harsh V10. You can connect with me. If you are having any question, you can ask me. Okay, so that's all for this lecture. Thank you very much. And those who want to join me, then for IR, every day we have a lecture at 11 a.m. Just half an hour later we are going to meet again at IR for the IR at 11 a.m. And one more thing, that is, every day we are going to meet at 8:30 to 10:30 for world history and 11 to 12 for IR. This thing we are going to continue for Diwali. After Diwali we are going to increase the timing of IR lecture. It will be of 2 hours. Okay, so Samir, what you said, when Napoleon was defeated in the Battle of Leipzig and knew he was not much army, then why did he fought again in 1815? It was very simple. That person wants to take revenge, ego. As I mentioned, Vinashakali Viparita Buddhi. When it is the time of your destruction, you cannot think rationally and logically. Clear? It happened at that time. You want to take revenge. If you're a common sense at that time, you can use it. But he lost that all the senses. He had only one thing in the mind, that is he wants to take revenge. I was not there, Samir, so I don't know whether he gets mad or not. In history, especially in UPSC point of view, we are least interested in the personal life of any person. Clear? We are more interested in what that person did, what's the consequences of it. Clear? So it's our duty to understand. Okay, so that's all for this lecture. Thank you very much for your valuable time. Tomorrow we are going to meet at the same time, 8:30, and please join me at 11 o'clock.